Hola, hola, mi gente. In light of what happened in Texas this week, I just want to say a prayer for all the families that lost their loved ones and witnessed such a traumatic event. I pray for peace and light and love in their hearts. I pray that any feelings of rage or anger will turn into enrage for our leaders to do something. We are in need of elders right now, leaders that will stand up and stop being people pleasers and use wisdom to make decisions for the betterment of the whole. How can I explain to my daughter that gets swept into tears because our dog Earl just killed a bunny, that a young man just killed 22 people? How do you explain that we can do something about it and are not? How do you explain that one life is no more important than another and that we are all special? That's why our children are confused. They see no action. They are absorbing more in one day than our ancestors absorbed in 1 year. We are so consumed and paralyzed by the news and social media into overwhelm. What are we to do with all that energy that isn't ours? Imagine all those sensitive people like me that are taking it in. Meditation can strengthen our minds and our bodies. We can exercise and collectively we can pray. But what do we start with after that prayer is done? What can I do in my little corner of the world, in my community? We can act. And the first thing that comes to mind, do our part, whatever that means for you. There's a quote that has stayed with me ever since my freshman year of college, and it keeps me going. It goes like this: I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. What is one thing that is important to you right now? What comes to your mind? Well, that's what you start with. Mine is my children and what they and my friends as young children are watching us and see how we value ourselves. They see us make mistakes and learn from them or not. They are inheriting what we are leaving them behind with. They are taking notes, and we will continue to instill in them, upon them, how we behave, not what we say, but what we do. We are only in charge of ourselves, our minds, our bodies, the thoughts that we focus on, and our actions. Let them see us take ownership and responsibility of honoring and respecting ourselves and learn healthy ways to manage stress. I finally understood when my high school teacher, Mr. Craig, would tell me about the fabric of our society is deteriorating. And that was almost 30 years ago. Will we teach our children that we are important and that we are held accountable for our actions, or that money can buy your way out of respecting yourself, or that all we have to do is work just a little harder in life? For what? If our children don't see us, see me connected to myself, my body, to each other as a community, then they will check out and numb out too. We will give them permission to think that nothing is worth fighting for or worthwhile, and that this world is divided, and that you can't do anything about the divisiveness, or that it's okay to live overwhelmed. We have a term in the Mexican tradition that's called ni modo. It's the term we use when we have succumbed to the situation. There is so much corruption, we don't even know where to start. Let's show our kids that it starts with us, to have the courage and the tenacity to stay with it, even when it gets hard, to live with a sense of purpose and belonging, to have a pride in our individuality and yet work together like adults, normally do. That we can do better than our parents may have done, because we are breaking old and creating new cycles. That we have a sense of belonging as a family unit, which may or may not be your family. I have neighbors and friends that have become my family since I have none around here in Seattle. And quite honestly, some of my family members are energy vampires and are too toxic to be around. Well, until I learn to set my boundaries. I believe that we can address this disconnect and separateness for ourselves, from each other, and talk about these issues. It could be a form of medicine for our souls. We have to talk about these issues because we wonder why we spend so much of our time overeating, overworking, overdrinking, over anxious, stressed out, and over medicated. Fill in the blank. That's the only way that I can comprehend and explain the horrendous act we've seen at the Robb Elementary and what those children seen done to other children, their friends. That young man himself was lost in darkness and separated. And we all have darkness. We all have to heal that darkness in our lives. That's our journey. When we don't talk about those fears and issues, it lingers and it gets bigger in our head until it explodes, causing us unnecessary trauma in the process. That reverberates across communities and generations. Can you imagine the trauma? I pray, please pray with me that the people that were there will heal, and that this event will motivate our leaders to wake the fuck up and to be the leaders that we need, to lead, to do the next right thing. I pray for us to take responsibility of the most relevant thing in our lives, to heal with action after prayer. And in this moment, to have the courage to keep trying when everyone else stops talking about this. That you can keep talking about these issues that are important to you with action. Prayer is powerful. And when you do it, it works. And when you don't do it, it doesn't work. It's like a muscle that gets stronger and brings us strength or atrophies. As always, I am with you. Vaya con Dios, mi gente.